Well, it seems that Valve are following in Nintendo's footsteps by releasing an OLED version of their console. Much like Nintendo's offering, this is just a mid-generation refresh. This isn't the Steam Deck 2 or anything, but it does boast some pretty neat improvements over the original Steam Deck, all while providing better bang for your buck. The 512GB model of the Steam Deck OLED is $549, only just over $20 more than the 256GB model of the original Steam Deck. There's also a 1TB OLED Steam Deck for $649 and a limited edition version of that 1TB model for $679. This is a pretty big storage boost since the original Steam Deck only went up to 512GB of storage. Incidentally, there isn't actually a 256GB or 64GB model of the Steam Deck OLED, but the original 256GB Steam Deck with the LCD display is still being produced and sold as the new entry-level Steam Deck at $399, which is a fairly substantial price drop. If you're interested in grabbing a Steam Deck OLED, you can place your order from the 16th of November this year. It's unclear if you'll have to pre-order the device or simply be able to buy it outright, but if you want the 256GB model of the original Steam Deck at the lower price point, that is available as of today. The final thing to mention before we talk about the Steam Deck OLED's hardware is that Valve is having a clear out sale of the 64GB and 512GB models of the original Steam Deck. So, if you're interested in getting one of those at a reduced price, now is most definitely the time to act. With that unpaid sales pitch out of the way though, let's talk about the stuff that actually matters. The Steam Deck OLED's hardware. Also, do you think that Valve would pay me for this video? First, the most obvious change with the Steam Deck OLED is of course the OLED display, because obviously a product titled the Steam Deck OLED isn't going to have an e-ink screen. This OLED screen means that colours will look far more vibrant and blacks will appear much deeper. Anyone who's used a PS Vita will know exactly how good OLED displays look. This OLED display will also support HDR, which explains why Valve's been putting in so much effort to HDR on Linux. The OLED display also features a higher refresh rate at 90Hz as opposed to the original Steam Deck's 60Hz. I might be easily impressed, but the fact that we now have a handheld gaming PC with a high refresh rate screen blows my mind. I don't even know if there's anything else like this out there. Though it is worth pointing out that if you're playing demanding games or using the Steam Deck for emulation, the refresh rate is only going to be as high as the game allows. So in many cases you might still be stuck with 60 FPS or lower. But for the games that allow it, you will get 90 FPS, and that is pretty impressive for a handheld. The last thing that's different about the screen on the Steam Deck OLED is that it's slightly bigger than the original Steam Decks at 7.4 inches as compared to the original Deck's 7 inches. I guess Valve managed to kill off some of the Steam Deck's hefty bezels. Whether that 0.4 inches matters depends on who you are, I suppose. Most of the cis men in my life would agree that 0.4 inches extra does matter. Another neat feature of the Steam Deck OLED is that it comes with a Wi-Fi 6E compatible wireless card, meaning that you can download games, ROMs and weird Japanese cartoons faster and game with lower latency if you have a compatible router. Finally, the Steam Deck OLED is generally more efficient and refined. This is thanks to the OLED display, more efficient, though no more powerful, AMD APU, and bigger battery. The device is around 5% lighter, runs cooler, and has fairly drastically improved battery life. The original Steam Deck could get around 2 to 8 hours of playtime, whereas the OLED can get between 3 and 12 hours, depending on what game you're playing, of course. Overall, Valve lists around 40 minor improvements to the Steam Deck OLED over the original, though notably no spec bumps that would make games run better. Although, this hardware revision may still end up making games run slightly better depending on how good the new thermals are. Because of course, if the CPU and other hardware isn't overheating, games will run better. Now, the Steam Deck OLED doesn't have anything to offer that I think will tempt all that many existing Steam Deck owners, but I don't think that was ever the point. What Valve are showing here is that they aren't like console manufacturers. They won't force you to buy a new Steam Deck, holding new games hostage. I suspect that Valve is going to continue to release minor to moderate iterations on the original Steam Deck. This means that you, as the gamer, get to decide when Valve put out an upgrade that's worth your money. That's a business model that I can respect. Now, of course, there will eventually come a day when games are released that are too demanding for the original Steam Deck, and I'm sure by then Valve will have released an updated and more powerful Steam Deck. But to be perfectly honest, until then I'm more than happy with my original Steam Deck. The OLED display just isn't a substantial enough upgrade to justify the $549 I'd have to put down to get a Steam Deck OLED. I personally don't intend to upgrade until we see a significant spec boost or a Steam Deck Lite. I think a lot of Steam Deck owners are probably going to feel the same way, but I think that's the point. This is really a revision for people who are either super hardcore about their Steam Deck or are just getting into the Steam Deck for the first time. And that's fine, that's just the power of PC gaming. You can upgrade whenever you want to. It's also worth pointing out that not only is Valve's decision to release the Steam Deck OLED a great pro-consumer move, but it's also a smart business move on Valve's part, since it easily puts them ahead of the competition. After all, why buy a handheld gaming PC that costs more than the Steam Deck, isn't much more powerful, and doesn't have an OLED display? With all that said though, that's my video on the Steam Deck OLED. It's definitely exciting to see this thing come out, even if I'm not going to be purchasing one myself. But what do you think? Are you currently a Steam Deck owner? Will you be buying a Steam Deck OLED? If not, what would make you upgrade your Steam Deck or get one for the first time? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.